I don't watch them.
All right. So we're going live. We're live, guys.
We
We're
are
live right
live.
now. Yeah, we're live, and we're getting ready to, you know, talk about what happened this weekend. What were your thoughts overall, Vito, of the whole Extreme? Did you think it was well put together? Do you think it matched? Did it lived up to the hype?
The only issue I have with some of these pay-per-views is the matches just sometimes go too long for me, but I'm not really the right gauge for that. I'm looking at it more from like the whole global aspect of it, and I just sometimes that strap match, if they gave us 7 less minutes of that, would we be mad? Would anybody be like, oh, that strap match, we could have just went 7 more minutes,
Now, for
right?
those of us that are a little newer to this, is the strap? Is that Riddle? Was that Riddle versus Rollins? What is the strap match?
The strap match is where two guys or gals, but in this case, two guys are strapped, connected by the wrist with a leather strap. It was Drew McIntyre and Karrion Cross, and those two guys are human NyQuils. If you can't sleep at night, pop on a Drew McIntyre match. Hopefully, he's not wrestling anybody else because it might get a little exciting, But you really want to sleep, you put them both on, and it's just instantaneous. It's nap time.
So how are they? If this is looked at as NyQuil, we'll call them So
human NyQuil.
Human NyQuil.
Wait, Drew NyQuil is his new name. I like that even
Drew
better.
NyQuil. All right, so Drew NyQuil and Karrion NyQuil, because now they're twins. They're twins.
They're the NyQuil twins.
Why are they on the paper? What's the draw then? Are they because you seem to be, you have the same. I think you have a lot of the same opinions as a lot of fans do. So why are they on? Why are they on as a main pay-per-view?
So this is what's weird about the company aspect down the chain, and then to the fans, it's different. So like, you guys have all played sports, like you guys have all been on teams before, right?
Oh, yeah,
and then when you go watch maybe you're in like high school and you played freshman ball, and then you played junior, and then when you get to senior, some of your other buddies were still like junior ball, but you'd watch their games and you were way more involved in that person because you knew that person from your team, right?
Mm-hmm.
So wrestling is kind of that way. So in that place, that's a closed off thing. It's a solid work environment. So they only know each other. So in that work environment, those two guys have done what they needed to do to rise up in that corporation to be looked at as a draw. Now they have metrics that show it. They have Twitter followers that show it, but there's a certain portion of the WWE audience that will just like anything at all. And that's so they fall into once the machine pushes you, that's what you need. And those two guys have been pushed by the machine, but they're valueless.
Well, if we're going to call him NyQuil, then let's go to the match that I was looking forward to, that I shot a little text out to you about, and I was really happy with it. And listen, Mrs. Submission, the queen of submission from the UFC, turned around and pulled the submission off in WWE, and there you go. Now she's the champion. Yeah?
Okay. Yeah, so now that's great, right? But I say that too. Same thing with the match times. Like those two went 12 minutes or so, right?
Is that too long?
Ronda Rousey in the UFC against the baddest trained real fighters on the planet never went 12 minutes.
Right.
And now with some girl, no offense, she's just some girl. She's a girl. Yeah. She's a random girl that if you shoved her, just even kind of like a stiff kind of shove, she'd fall right to the ground. And this girl's going 12 minutes with the baddest woman on the planet.
Don't put her in front of a windmill. All right, I got you. I got you. Don't put her.
so that's what I mean. Like this is a fake. It's a fake business, and we're allowed to do anything we want in it. So why do we counter program what's already programmed?
Listen, I'm getting back to what I said last week.
Why put a wig on me? I'm bald. Why put a wig on me?
Listen, I want to get
Tom almost had to wear his wig for a week.
Nah, the Mets lost. I'm clean. The Mets lost. They're done. So listen, I want to see a tournament like the UFC used to do. If it goes in line with what you're saying, let's have 3 wrestling matches go 6 minutes. And then the winners are 4, and then the winners wrestle again at the end of the night, and then the winner, you have 1. If you're going to get 3 hours, I say, I'm agreeing with you. Shorten the matches.
I think that would be really cool, really interesting.
And have multiple wrestling matches throughout the night for the same thing. Does that make sense? Like a tournament.
It does.
Let's have a tournament.
Weird. So they do that every year, or they used to. It's called the King of the Ring. And they would do they do tournament-based stuff. Vince McMahon doesn't like tournaments where people wrestle multiple times in a night. They have this thing where once you go out there, they don't put you back out there. So they don't like they don't like telling that theme throughout the story. But I love those tournaments. Tell the greatest stories. Every tournament almost has a Rocky story in it. Every single tournament, if told the right way. And they don't feel that way. So they blow tournaments really weird.
Can you imagine if we could do brackets like that and we just have these awesome brackets all night long in wrestling? I mean, that would be awesome.
Yeah,
so,
it would be incredible.
Without getting too far away from this, what was your thought on the main event? I think it's confusing to me because now he's actually the guy that just lost the championship fight the other night is now wrestling tonight for another championship.
So do you see what I mean? Where there's non-continuity in anything, so you can't like plan in some weird ways. When back in the day, that was structured, right? If Tito Santana was going to fight Mr. Perfect for the Intercontinental title, Tito Santana wasn't losing to Andre the Giant the week before. Why? You blow it. So they double, triple booked themselves into weird corners, and I think that they're just trying to reset the deck. Like I sent you over an email today, and I was explaining to you that I could see Seth Rollins winning tonight, even though he lost last night. But not to put Seth Rollins over, to get the belt off Lashley because they want to do something bigger with Lashley. WrestleMania.
What's bigger? What's bigger than what he already is? How do you get big? Isn't he the champion of the highest degree?
He's the United States champion. So that is an underbelt. So there's the world title. Well, there's the Raw title. I know this is confusing. There's the Raw championship. There's the SmackDown championship. There's the Intercontinental title and the United States title. They're all under. Those are under. Those are secondary titles. Okay.
And Roman Reigns is holding the biggest title, right?
He's holding both Raw and SmackDown. He's the unified champion.
The unified champion. So there's a chance.
We got a lot going on.
Right. So there's a lot going on, but that's what I mean. There's not. It's just a lot. It's like putting a hat on a hat. They put a lot of hats on top of a hat on top of a hat. So it seems like something's going on, but nothing's going on. The bigger it is to get Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley. There's no one for Brock at Royal Rumble or at Mania this year. I don't see anybody in the cards that's even remotely close to big enough. And they've done a good job at Lashley. And I think just get the belt off him now, let him go into a past Survivor Series, get into Royal Rumble, look really good in the Rumble, and something happens, and him and Brock go WrestleMania, baby. I'm calling it now. Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar.
So where's Roman Reigns fit in that?
It'll be Roman Reigns against some person that they want to heat up. Maybe they heat up Riddle. Maybe Riddle does something well. And see, the winner of the Royal Rumble gets to pick who they're going to fight at WrestleMania. If you win the Royal Rumble, you pick any champion on the roster that you want to wrestle at WrestleMania.
So no champions are in Royal Rumble.
Sometimes there are, and if they win, then they have a buy, quote unquote buy in WrestleMania. It's all for storytelling purposes. No one has a buy at WrestleMania. No one wants a buy at WrestleMania. Everyone gets paid really big to work WrestleMania, so it's all bullshit.
So Connor hasn't seen this, but I saw this yesterday. I told you about this. I'm gonna have Connor watch this tomorrow because I think it's gonna trip out when he sees this. The stories from the territories.
Yeah,
it is. Let me tell you something. They talk about real fights and real things going on with the fans and how close it was. They talk about some of their interactions. That Jerry Jarrett, I think his name is, one of the Jarretts, talks about putting his thumb into a guy's eye in a real fight. Yeah. And he says, I was told when you put your thumb in there, feel around for the thing and pull, and you pull his eye out. And he talks about this because one of the wrestlers they were talking about was nuts. And at one time he came at him with an axe, and the other guy had to pull a real gun, and say, back the heck up. Like it got real in some things. It was really crazy.
You know what? I'll say this about that time in life. A lot of the story is very true.
Yeah.
A lot of the other part of the story is not. This what happens. We call them Harley race type stories. Embellishing means your fish went from this big to this big, right?
Right.
12 inches to 18 inches if you're on audio form only. They do more things like they weren't fishing, they were hunting bears. And you're like, wait, I thought we were fishing. It changes that drastic. and what I mean by that is those wrestlers in the day would have told stories to the boys in the back to create their own buzz. Because there's no way to know. We were different people back then. You couldn't just get online and figure stuff out. Everything was different. So if you and I went to the bar, Tom, the night before, and let's say we were down in the rankings in the back, and the promoter didn't think we were that tough, maybe we beat up two guys at the bar last, and we tell a couple of the boys, I don't know where Vito pulled his eyeball out. Now I'm crazy. Because if you get the boys to believe you and the promoter to believe you get paid more than they tell the fans, and the fans think it's even harder. It was a different time. So some of those stories happened. They did some really hardcore, crazy stuff back in the day, but a lot of it is not true. Like, think about it like this. If you stuck your thumb in there, where's your other finger go to pull it out? Where's the room in an eye socket for two fingers? Even that sounds silly.
I don't know. It was, I watched them and I thought, well, first of all, obviously Jerry Lawler was in it, and Jimmy the Mouth of the South, and Jimmy Mouth of the South was like legendary when I was growing up watching. Because the weird thing was the show that followed it after that was the WWE Vince McMahon steroid scandal. And that happened in around 91 or 92. I had already like moved beyond watching wrestling. So when all this stuff was going on, I had no idea that any of this actually happened. I had no idea that they did this with Hulk Hogan and some of these other wrestlers and the steroid trial. I didn't know any of this. So yeah, it is. And it's crazy how that all happened. And looking back now at some of the guys, like the storylines that we had, there was a bounty. Big John Studd can't be body slammed, and Hulk Hogan body slammed him. And it was like $1 million. It was $100,000 bounty back in the day. And we all filled out arenas to see if he could body slam this guy that's 7 feet tall. And he finally did it. The same thing with Andre the Giant. Remember, it's just awesome storyline. So you're right. There is a lot of difference. Well, one of the things I guess I had a question about from the other night is you see them elevating Riddle. You see them elevating Matt Riddle. You do?
I do. I think Triple H sees him as a star, a major star, and Vince was making him look like a goof. Vince doesn't think real fighters are cool, so he made Riddle look stupid. Well, Triple H loves the UFC, loves it, so he could shine him. Yeah.
But when you watch Riddle, this whole bro thing, that doesn't turn into a tough guy. That's like bro. I mean, like, are they gonna make him a villain all of a sudden and maybe make him a bad guy champion? Do you think is that a possibility?
They're going to have to do something, because I know one thing. The guy that main events WrestleMania and is on the morning show with whoever that morning show is now, I don't want to date myself, but, Regis and Kathy Lee back in the day, they would bring the biggest stars on the morning show. Like, do you see Matt Riddle talking about, and I like to hang out and party with my kids? And that's not a morning show person, right? No. So, I don't know if they do that with him, but I don't know if he could do anything different, because his normal dialogue is pretty laid-back surfer, hang 10 dude. That's not a put on. That's who he is. So, how do you... Oh yeah, that's very real. If you've been around him at all, that's who he is, 100%.
Yeah, he's definitely different than I thought that they would push. To me, to be a championship wrestler, again, I grew up in the days where everybody was 6'4", yoked out, just monsters out there. And now Matt Riddle kind of goes the opposite way of that whole stereotype, right? So that where Roman Reigns isn't. Roman Reigns is a beast he's just a beast out there. So I don't know. I just thought the whole thing was. I was surprised that he won the match. I didn't think he would beat, because I just got done telling Connor, I love the name Seth freaking Rollins. That's just a freaking awesome nickname, man.
Yeah, he's been there a long time, and he's been on top a long time, and Riddle hasn't. And it's time to make somebody else a star. That's really the short answer. If you've been watching for a number of years, Seth has been on top since 2014. So almost 10 years. Yeah, so it's just time. It's time for somebody else. And with the pedigree that Riddle has, you can say anything you want about any guy, but he could probably whoop anybody in that back locker room's ass. Whoop their ass.
Because of UFC. Yeah, he has. I think he was on one of the Ultimate Fighters. I believe he was on an Ultimate Fighter.
He was, and if it wasn't for the way that he was backstage and that they had to smoke weed, and he was real public about it, they would never have dropped him. He would have been a big deal. If you go back and look at his career, I believe he went out on top. He won his last fight in UFC.
He did. Yeah, he got busted for I think marijuana use, and I think it all happened right around the same time that the big bust went down with one of the Diaz brothers, and it's probably why they came down on him so hard was because of what was going on with the Diaz brother. Yeah.
He was a nobody, but he was a great fighter then, and he just never got that top. So now he's here, right? But I would hope he cleans that up a little bit, or put a really cool chick with him that can cut good promos, and good villain. Yeah,
I think that would be really cool. All right, well let's switch gears a little bit to before we get into tonight, there's actually one thing I want to bring up, and that's your guy that was up in Atlantic City, the Gage and Moxley. So the Gage and Moxley match. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, remember when we had talked that they were rushing it? They were rushing this out of nowhere. This fight came out of nowhere within 3-day notice. They mentioned it, so that was odd. Well, in the news, it came out this week that Tony Khan owns AEW. Jon Moxley is AEW champion, and he put a stop to all working outside of the company. Which, when Tony Khan started AEW, that was part of the perks: is you could work on TV, get a national contract, and still work these local shows. And he put a stop to that. So now, it's a weird time in wrestling. He's changing what he was not going back on before, and now Mox is getting caught up in that. So they put Gage over, which I couldn't believe it. It was a weird night, a weird show, but a great show.
Where is Moxley in the hierarchy at AEW? Like
he's their champion.
So you're telling me that the champion of AEW was just wrestling up in Atlantic City and lost to is it Gage? And now he's going to go back and be the AEW champion?
Well, there's also the theory that if a tree falls in the woods and no one hears it.
Yeah.
So like, really but the thing is, when you look at it, AEW probably has 20% of the AEW audience. I'm sorry, GCW probably has 20% of the AEW audience. So their hardcore fans know what happened, but the fans don't care about that anymore. Like they're just so used to guys just getting beat to shit and then looking good and then getting beat to shit. Like there's no stars anymore. They stopped that a long time ago. So the public is used to just mediocre people now. It's so strange. Like back in the day, imagine if Hogan just lost every other match.
It couldn't happen. He had to win. No, and you knew exactly how he was going to win. Mm-hmm. You just honestly, you didn't know what was going to happen leading up to it. So
you didn't care. You just wanted to see him win.
You just wanted to see the leg drop. Want to see a dude 6'10" run across the thing, do the here and do the leg drop, and then it's over. Yeah. And then they did the bounty. Like I said, is he going to be able to body slam Big John Studd? Can he do it?
Yeah.
So, man, it is different. But like I said, going to the matches is much different because when I went to that NXT match, I was still blown away with how high those guys were when they were doing it, the men and women, just how high they were in the air, coming off the ropes, on top of the cage, all that stuff. But all right, so very cool. So let's get into tonight's Raw.
Yeah.
Right. So looking at the lineup, first of all, one thing stuck out to me is the fact that you even had as a chance that Roman Reigns gets thrown through a table tonight. You really think there's a chance that Roman Reigns gets thrown through a table?
I just think that they've just made him look so good, so strong that what do you do to make anything interesting leading into what's next for Roman when what they're going to do next with Roman isn't that important till next season of WrestleMania anyway. They need a buffer. They need something interesting. And I can 100% see Bray Wyatt come out or somebody like that coming out. Something happens and Roman goes to the table. They leave him laying. Yes. He hasn't been seen like that ever. And he's beaten everybody very easily in the last 2 years.
Who is Billy Gunn?
Billy Gunn he's from the Attitude Era. He was in D-Generation X, which was one of the most famous factions ever in the history of wrestling. Suck It. Remember the Suck It in the 90s? Suck It. Remember?
Yeah.
Billy Gunn was the Suck It guy. He was Mr.
He was the guy that started that?
Well, he was in the group of them that started it, but he was the one that beat that saying into the ground. He beat that thing into the ground. What's great about him is he's still on TV today, and he looks better today than he's ever looked. He's probably 300 pounds. He's jacked, abs jacked, 50-some years old, completely jacked. Yeah, and his kids wrestle for AEW, so he's living like his best life right now.
Okay, that throws a wrinkle into the betting.
And by the way, if you want to get Billy Gunn on the show, we can get him on in the show just about any week you want to get him on.
Love to talk to Billy Gunn because the first time I saw somebody do the Suck It thing was a quarterback in football when he threw a touchdown pass. It was one of the Detmer brothers, Coy Detmer, did this. I'm like, what did he just do to that sideline, man? And the next thing you know, everybody's doing it. I'm like, oh my God, look at this thing. So
it was a fad for kids to do it in school. It was ridiculous.
It got crazy. So of the bloodline interfering.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Do you think, is there a chance, I've been saying this for 2 weeks now that I've been following this stuff, is that, what's his name, Zayn?
Sami Zayn. Mm-hmm.
Do you think they kick him out of the bloodline tonight? Is there any chance he gets kicked out of the bloodline on TV?
No. He's their fodder for a little bit, and there's a lot more they can do. Yeah, he's going to be their fall guy in some weird way, and I think, kind of thinking out loud for a minute too, I still think Logan Paul can beat Roman Reigns too. So all these things we've said tonight, I sound like an idiot now because I'm giving you things that don't connect. But I also could see Sami Zayn getting beat up so much from Roman all the way into WrestleMania season next year, and they tell the right story, and Sami Zayn beats Roman Reigns too. I could see them doing it the right way if all these dots connect. A lot of dots got to connect for that to happen. But I could see that too.
That's a lot of dots connecting because I see
they love an underdog story though. Like if Sami Zayn, look at it this way: if Sami Zayn starts to slip on a banana peel in some weird ways, and they start beating up because he's not a family member, then he gets into the Royal Rumble and wins the Royal Rumble. And the rest of the family members didn't. Now they hate him, and now he goes against Roman. The crowd would be electric for him at that point.
We got to find a way to come up with those 2 counts. I see more and more of the 2 counts that people get really energized by the 2 counts, the twos. We got to figure out. It's kind
How
of
many
like
2 counts?
Yeah, we got to do over-unders on 2 counts, I think. I think that we got to figure out that 2 counts because the fans get into that, and that's kind of like a sports betting. That's kind of like over-under on threes. Connor, it's kind of like hitting over-under on 3-pointers in the NBA, where you're like, I need one more. I need one
What's
more.
What's a 2 counter?
So, like, if I put you on the ground and I cover you, and the ref goes 1, 2, and you kick out.
Yeah. Okay, so 3's the done.
Yeah.
2 is just the.
And very rarely you kick out on 1 unless like you do. It does happen, but most of the time you kick out on 2. So that's why if you put the over under like 3.5 or something, right?
Makes sense. Makes sense.
The crowd gets into it. They always put their hands up and yell.
Is there a way to do it to where you say something like, well, if the match is 6 minutes or less, the over under is 3. If it's 10 minutes or less, the over under is 8 or something like that. Because I would say this. It comes down to how long a match can be to the 2 counts, right? I mean, a 10-minute match is going to have a lot more 2 counts than a 5-minute match.
Right. But if we put it at 7.5, all of a sudden, or 5.5, that really makes it a bet. Now you have to digest, okay, is this thing going to go 10 minutes and it's going to happen, or is this going to go 3 minutes and it's not? So that's what makes the bet. That's what makes it. So that's the strategy.
I think we make that a sport hitter's thing. Like that's a feature. Maybe how many 2 counts?
Yeah, the over-under 2 counts. I think it's a great thing.
Because there's always at least one. You have to have at least one. Well, I guess not. Like okay, for instance, let me ask you this. So scenario. Ding, ding, ding. Something happens. Schmazzy something. The match actually doesn't. Nothing happens, and one guy wins. So like a ref throws it out. Something occurs. Somebody gets DQ'd, and somebody wins. But there's no pinfall. There's never even one.
It's the under. It's the under.
Yes,
it's
the under.
The under. Oh, okay. Duh.
Automatically, it's automatically an under. Automatically an under. So we're doing over/under on how many times it happens.
I love that.
So here's the one that I know that I think I know where you're going with this one. Theory versus Gargano. Now, I don't know a lot about Money in the Bank, but isn't Theory the guy always walking around with the Money in the Bank case?
Correct. And he was Vince McMahon's pet project. So then when Vince McMahon was let go, let's just say that, the new regime that came on, they don't feel the same way about him. So he went from being a guy that was on top, that you can't just disappear. So you got to give that rub to somebody else. So they're in the process of just handing that rub out to somebody else right now.
And is he on his way out?
No, because this is what can happen. He could do a good job and listen, and then earn the respect of the new regime that he did the right thing, and then get pushed immediately because he's good looking. His wrestling is passable for what they do on television. He has that Saturday morning cartoon villain or good guy look. He could be on Saved by the Bell or like all those shows, So they love that. So no, I wouldn't know, but he's definitely going to get beat up for a little while longer. So at least WrestleMania. After that, they might repackage him. So
you would think Gargano's is an easy selection, Gargano all night.
It is, but then there's also the thing that Austin Theory's been beat to shit so often the last X amount of weeks that he's got to get something to get a little bit of juice back. So I can also see that being an upset tonight. But it would be an upset if Austin Theory pulls any kind of win out of his ass tonight on Johnny Gargano. Yes.
And okay, so Judgment Day. Mm-hmm. All right. Here's now in the few weeks I've been watching this. Here's the villains of the villains, right? They're the lowest of the low, and they're doing a good job of portraying that. So this is the team with Priest, that Rhea girl, and the son of Rey Mysterio, right?
Dominic, yep.
Yeah. So but Edge just lost. Explain the Edge match, because I don't understand the I quit thing that happened, because he won the match, but then he quit. That's what it was.
So he didn't win the match. He quit. So the only way the way the match ends is somebody has to say I quit. So that's why during the match they kept putting the microphone in somebody's face and they would say "fuck you" and push the mic away, or no, right? They kept saying no. The only way to end the match is say "I quit."
Oh,
so it was an I quit match.
I thought he pinned the other guy for 3 counts.
So shit happens. Everyone slides in the ring. His old lady gets in the ring. Yeah. She has a little thing, and she's a former women's champion, so she wasn't just some random. She knows what she's doing. Judgment Day jumps her. They get a little heat on Judgment Day, right? And then they get her on the ground, and they're gonna smash a chair over her head, right? So Edge, as the good guy, quits. Okay, I quit. And what do? They still fucked it. They still gave her the deal. So Edge loses, and his wife takes the headshot. The villains leave the ring. Good guy leaves over his wife, and now that draws that heat. Yeah, that was good heat. That was they played it perfectly. And she
would have been
the shot.
Ultimate. He would have been the ultimate villain if he's like, "Fuck that, I'm winning the match."
Yeah, fuck her. Throw her out of here. Yeah. But you know what though? But that's good. But that's such good storytelling in a different way, right? Like you could do that, but they don't ever cross that way. That's why storytelling in wrestling, there's like 5 versions of it, and you just kind of pick which one you want to go with.
Is this like just the corrupted Miss Elizabeth? Is that who this girl is? Is that who this Rhea Ripley is? Is she like?
No, Rhea Ripley is the. So if Charlotte Flair, let's say she's Hulk Hogan in a sense, because I think she's the greatest women's wrestler ever. Rhea Ripley's the opposite. She, Joker to Batman. She's the villain to Charlotte Flair's babyface. But they also could switch that too, and either one can play either role. They're just fantastic. Rhea Ripley she wrestles like a man, and that's a compliment in the wrestling business. Like when you're told that's a compliment. That's not a derogatory term. She wrestles like a man. She's really good. She's super talented.
Okay, so who is the Miss Elizabeth today? Who is the person that is the manager that comes out and represents her wrestler? And is that going on, or is that not going on?
I mean, as somebody who like really takes, I put her on a weird pedestal. I think she's like the first woman of wrestling, even though there was other ones, but to me she is. The modern day version of her doesn't exist. I mean, Karrion Kross has a manager, Scarlett. She's like a piece of furniture, and that's all Miss Elizabeth was. Miss Elizabeth was a piece of furniture. She just stood there. She didn't do anything. She didn't interfere. She didn't slap anybody. She didn't have a brick in her purse that she helped you cheat. She legitimately just stood there, right? But when the camera went on her, and
she was the like, Southern Belle. She was the Southern Belle that the world loved.
Her face did everything. And then when Randy was selling and would reach out for her, she would just sit there, and she looked concerned, and that's all it took. Yeah. No one does that. And today it's like the commentators are talking about sponsors and a pay-per-view, and there's colors just coming at you. It's just not. It's homogenized Saturday morning cartoons for adults. Is really what wrestling is today. So it's a weird thing. Yeah, there's no one like her.
I still think there's got to be a way we can get to this tournament that in my mind, I think the tournament would just be awesome.
Well, let me ask you this. Is there a way to fantasy pick people, and then for how many minutes these people wrestle, maybe in each match, they somehow get like points added? And then, so like if I pick Roman Reigns and he's in 26 minutes totally in the month of October, again, I'm filibustering here. Yeah. I get some kind of points for that. Like, do we go like longevity or maybe like TV time? Because like, that would be kind of fun. How do we do that?
To do this.
We can't.
Wrestling needs to have tournaments. We can maybe that's what the answer is. Listen,
wrestling has tons of tournaments, my friend. Every company has wrestling tournaments. Tons of tournaments. You can find wrestling tournaments.
Like they wrestle 3 times in one night. The same person.
Yes.
Where are these things?
In the lineage of professional wrestling, how many you want to take a couple weeks off work, and I'll show you all of them. We can watch them.
Hell yeah, I want to bet on it.
So
I want to bet on that.
Yeah, so like the tournament, like the days of the tournaments, like it was really big in the 90s, early 2000s, and like today, like they go over 2 days. There's a lot of indies. Oh, so for instance, a local company here in Chicago, AEW, they're doing a 16-man or 18-man tournament Friday and Saturday. It's a 2-day tournament.
Friday right here in Chicago. This Saturday in Chicago, there's a tournament.
AEW, baby, yeah, they're like the 3rd or 4th largest number indie, largest one in Chicago for sure. But like on the national stage, yeah, they're right up there. MLW, AEW, they're in that GCW. They're all in that big category. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And they do it at a really cool venue out here.
Well, the one thing that I think, what I've seen, if I was Triple H, I'd start having that, but even the dude at 7'6", start being the new Andre the Giant out there, and start billing him as like that guy that can't be body slammed, and tell everybody he can drink 100 beers in a sitting, because people are gonna roll him up to that shit. I'm not kidding you, man. I mean, everybody loves the party guy, right? That can drink 100. Remember Stone Cold Steve Austin used to crack the beers on his head. I mean, it sells, man.
It's a different time for sure. No, everything about it's a different time, man. And the talents are different. Even today, I think someone that's 7 feet tall should be totally taken care of. And they do goofy stuff with him too. But that guy could be a big draw, but he can't when the bell rings. Oh,
it's not good wrestling.
Oh,
Well, listen, how much of a wrestler really was Andre the Giant? I mean, come on.
It doesn't matter. If Andre the Giant was today, he would be garbage.
He would bounce off the ropes and sit there. He would lean against the ropes because he had a hard time standing when he was done half the time.
True.
And people just love the dude. So,
but you got to realize he looked like a giant, and the way that they wrestled like a movie.
Yeah.
Right in the beginning, the good guy gets him, and the bad guy's going, he's up against the ropes, and finally Andre gets on Hogan and stops him, and he holds him for 10 minutes. He doesn't move, and laying on the ground, nothing happens, right? And then awesome. Hogan fights up, right? Issa clobbers him, he turns, he points at him, right? He blocks a bunch, hits him 3 times, hits the leg drop,
Connor.
and over. Right?
Connor, I'm going to bring up a name right now, Connor, and Vito doesn't like it when I bring it up, but he was my favorite as a kid, and I didn't know he got in trouble later in life. I want you tomorrow to come in and tell me what Jimmy Superfly Snuka's main move was, because that is the ultimate best move in the history of wrestling. The greatest move ever was Superfly Snuka.
And then I'll just give you the backstory. He killed a woman in 1983.
Oh, come on, man.
The wrestling we don't like him. The wrestling industry doesn't like him. I think it was 83. I think I may have made that. I think it was 83. Anyways,
wait a second.
He killed a woman.
What do you mean he killed a woman in 83? I thought you meant like 83? Recently. Didn't he? He died like 3 or 4 years ago, right?
He's very dead right now. Yeah, no. Google it. Superfly Jimmy Snuka killed a woman. There's so many stories on it. Yeah, and Vince McMahon covered it up. Yeah, it's
because I was watching him in like 85 or 86 when he was doing that. So he did that, and then he went and wrestled afterwards?
He had a woman living with him, and she was like his by the way, so Tales of the Territory you were talking about by The Rock?
Yeah.
On Vice TV.
Yeah.
The show that started everything was called oh my god, Dark Side of the Ring. Watch it's made on Vice. It's awesome. Google it. I'll send you some links to some pages. The Jimmy Snuka version, they tell you the whole story step by step. They interview the family. Oh yeah, you can get the whole story on that. It's an awesome episode. I mean, I shouldn't say it's awesome. It's tragic, but I mean, like the way Vice breaks these episodes down. You want to see some really crazy stuff? Yeah, Dark Side of the Ring.
Hey, did you ever come across the guys? They were called Road Warriors. They had mohawks.
Legion
Mohawks
of Doom?
And
the greatest tag team in the world.
Yeah, they won a lot, and then their kid, one of their kids, ended up becoming a world-class football player. He played for the Rams, the linebacker. But
Laurinaitis.
Yeah, what is Laurinaitis?
Laurinaitis. Yeah,
Laurinaitis. Yeah. So I just remember those as the good old. See, Connor, this is the thing about wrestling. Connor is. We have the same discussions in wrestling that we have about NBA, that we have about the NFL. Which generation was better? Which generation was more entertaining? But which generation was more competitive? And it's the same. It's really a lot of the same mentality in wrestling from wrestling fans as there is in typical sports that we watch and we follow every day and bet on them. So, I think it's kind of interesting. I think, Connor, if you watch some of the stuff, I think you jump in here. And
I might got to get into it a little bit.
You know, it's different. It's different. Debate. If we just say watch this show tonight, you'd be 15 minutes in and you'd be like, why am I watching this? Like, it's not that much fun. But like from a camaraderie standpoint, or like community standpoint, like especially when we start streaming stuff, and then you could ask questions as you're watching it. After about 6 months of that, you'll love it, and you'll be a closet fan where you don't want to tell people you're a fan.
Here's the thing.
You said a closet fan, so I won't be a regular fan, just I'm in the closet?
Yeah, like you don't want to tell anybody you're a wrestling fan. You're in the closet.
But here's the thing. Connor, you can bet on it. He'll watch it. 100%. Right. The minute you can bet on it, you're going to want to watch it, and you're going to root for this and this and this. Listen, betting makes everything more enjoyable. Everything.
I've said this a million times over. If there wasn't gambling, the NFL wouldn't be as big of a thing as.
Oh, you are 100% right. It absolutely.
It would be like women's NBA at this point because that's more people.
I don't know about that bad, but
yeah, no, it's 100%. Listen, let me tell you something.
Maybe women's golf.
If they started promoting WNBA betting or women's soccer, betting on women's soccer, you would see more people in the stands. You'd see more on TV. 100%.
Well, the problem is you got to make the game exciting enough to where they actually want to watch it and bet on it. That's the hard part.
Well, wait a second. Because
women's soccer is fun to watch. Women's basketball, not so much.
No, I'm going to say this right now. I watched a soccer game in Soldier Field where the Bears play. And soccer, you may as well go to a high school and watch soccer. No one cares about soccer. So that stadium is how big? 20,000 people, 77 or whatever. But I'm saying not with the field. Or I guess how big is it? There was like 1,000 people 1,000.
So
We could sit wherever you want to sit.
UCLA games.
They didn't even. They had 2 sections on. Or it was like a cross, like on this end and this end. They had places to get food. All the other things were closed. It was like
you realize
we robbed the place.
So listen, the way to back up the fact that betting makes everything better is the Chicago Cubs are trying to be the first team to bring gambling into their stadium, because MLB right now is trying to figure out how to gain the market share back, because the younger generation isn't baseball traditionalists. You know, honestly, if you couldn't bet on
sports in general, it's boring.
It's turning people off. However, playing for the dollars, like literally, that's what keeps. Listen,
I think a team you hate for.
You have to. Sometimes you have to. The money says, "Let's do it." Let me tell you something, Connor. I was pulling the other day. I don't even remember who they were playing, but Middle Tennessee State was playing somebody. I was rooting for the other team just so I didn't have to listen to you this week, because I didn't want to listen to Connor telling me he won.
Hey, Connor,
you hear what I go through at the office, Vito? He preys on my losses.
I can only imagine. How old are you, Connor?
I'm 21 years old.
That's what's so great about it. It is good because that's a huge difference in like life. It's a life difference, man.
Yes.
Because you saw life different. Like you came up in a different part of life, and I did too. And then even the separation between Mitch and I, which isn't that far of a gap, there's still a decent gap because of just stuff you've. Every 10 years is a weird jump to like life, man. So 21 years old, I can't wait to pick your brain in some weird ways as we continue to do this, because, yeah, you're a different. You're a different breed to me than me completely.
Listen,
Mitch picks me all the time.
No, that's not true, Connor. We dished out.
You pick my brain. It's nothing bad. You like the responses I give you.
Yeah, I want to. It is because there is such a different way of us looking at everything. Listen, like I said, you think it's boring, but the minute you have money on it, the minute you can talk trash to your friends, everything becomes more interesting, and that's what Sport Hitters does. Sport Hitters makes all the sports more interesting. You're not going to retire if you win a bracket. You're not going to lose your rent money if you don't. But you're going to be able to talk a lot of trash for a good, couple days until the next event.
Freight the Clown and I were talking the other day, and we were saying that we want to be able to bet on The Bachelor this season. We 100%. Love The Bachelor, and we want to bet on The Bachelor. and if we can get these other women like Frank and I to bet on this. You just released something that we weren't going to release for 3 months, but to be honest with you, the answer is yeah. It's awesome. Actually it's already in the works, so we're adding TV streaming shows. I'm telling you, we're going to add TV streaming shows. I can tell you everything about it. I love that show.
No, say it ain't so.
Fucking right. That's what I'm saying. You have 2 dudes ready to go. We can host a podcast on The Bachelor right now.
100%. Listen, it. Okay, so
the props. You realize we rolled out the props we could do with The Bachelor about what girl's gonna cry, how many girls are gonna cry,
how many I love yous,
gonna run out of there. Oh, how many I love yous, how many I came here for him. Oh, I can't wait.
We rolled out a test with Ozarks. We actually rolled out a test with Ozarks and props on Ozarks. Anyway, so yeah. I'm telling you right now, we're going to do it. Yeah. And this is a conversation me and you are going to have tomorrow, because you just broke something that we weren't going to say anything about.
Sorry, you can edit it out. Edit it out.
So anyway, listen, that's it for tonight's show. I want everybody to jump in there. Here's my pick. I'm going to give you one pick. I'm going with Seth freaking Rollins just because I love his nickname. Go get him, Seth freaking Rollins. You got good value on it. You're getting 11.25. Go Seth freaking Rollins. Vito, what's your pick of the night?
I mean, you kind of stepped on me, so I don't want. I hate when people agree with the person that Roman Reigns through a table.
That's my same pick. That was my pick. Roman through a table.
Crazy picks. Okay, Vito, we're throwing you in with the young guns next week. You're in on the young gun side.
I teeter. I'll be 42 in November. The minute I hit 42, yeah.
You're not old. I'm like, don't let him play you like that.
I'm like cool Uncle Vito. Yeah,
we got our own. We got our own factions in the Sport Hitters office. We got the young guns and we got the old timers.
Well, so, I'll be there next week though. I'll be live.
You are coming next week. You're coming live next week. You'll be right here for live out of the Sport Hitters Den. It's a cool little office we're putting together, but we're gonna have a lot of fun.
I can't wait.
All right, and I look forward to your news tomorrow.
Yes, early morning
news. Catch up with Vito's news tomorrow, and then also C-Dub is gonna be coming with some college football news tomorrow. So he's going to get it together, and you're going to hear the young guns side of what's going on in college football. Who knows what it's going to be?
I want to give my college football picks because I've never ever seen one college football anything in my entire life, and I want to give my picks.
You got it. We'll on Friday we're going to tune you in for 5 minutes during our pick segment.
I've never seen anything college football ever. I went to DeKalb one time and got drunk in the parking lot though.
That counts. That actually counts as going to a college football game. That counts.
Okay.
You're in.
I didn't see one snap.
You've been,
but I was there.
Listen, I bet you there's also another 10,000 people every Saturday that say this. Yeah, there's 10,000 people every Saturday that say the exact same thing. So,
you never been inside.
It counts. It 100%
All right.
counts.
Deal.
All right, guys. Listen, it was fun, and get your picks in, and I can't wait to see the follow-up and see what happens tonight.
Absolutely.
Until next week, have a good one.
Roman.